Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Today we're going to step into the realms of the inner consciousness via the medium of the graph, more colloquially known as the drawing. Now, I'm going to start off simple. And I'm going to start by drawing the main concept of all visual information, the dot. Now, what's interesting about the dot is that when you look at it, you can see it, but it's dimensionless. Very strange. And when you take two dimensionless objects, two dots, and you draw a streamline between, you create this force of energy that is not comprehensible to the primate brain, you know. You can draw lines wherever you want them to be big enough and see it. Or it could be over here. Or it could even be over here. Now the nice thing about lines is that they enable you to draw more complex patterns of information, like the right triangle. The right triangle consists of two lines perpendicular and then a line connecting the endpoints of them. Now, your curious frontal lobe might be why do we need triangles? Well, triangles enable us to invent more refined ideas, such as the square. Now the square is even more fascinating than the triangle in a lot of respects, because the square enables you to draw multiple connectivities. You see? And those connectivities have an intersection. Now, what you must understand about the intersection is that there is a holiness to them. Okay? There is a holiness. And that holiness is basically the idea that nothing, a point, which is what the intersection connects all these concepts and creates a unity. Not many shapes can do this. Now, indeed, there is, to the contrary, shapes with more sides that have intersections. But please recall that a square only has one. And the concept of one is very important when contemplating the truth. Now, let's look at this word. In fact, let's dissect this word. We get O, we get N, we get an E. Now, interestingly, O, E are both vowels, and N is consonant. Now notice I put a square around the N. That is relevant because a square encompasses foreign aspects of a unit of information. Call it an outlier if you will. Now, you may question this assertion, but please keep in mind that one must stay open-minded in order to truly understand the keys. Now, you see this encompassed inside this square. Now, what does the square mean? Well, I've already explained it. The square represents intersection, which represents holiness, because it really represents one. So in a way, it loops. It loops, you see. Now, one, please understand this. One has two vowels and one consonant. I know I'm reiterating, but I'm trying to set the context up in order for you to understand why I put the square around n. You see, n, like I said, is unique. N is 1. It is 1. 1 is analogous to unique. Okay? One must understand this concept before they can truly understand why I put the square around here. 1 is analogous to uniqueness. And the square has the intersection, which represents holiness, which represents 1. Okay. Now, by conclusion, one can infer that any piece of information or article of information that is stripped from the main concept can actually be reiterated back into itself. Now, for one last piece of advice, also remember that 3D shapes are simply a marriage of 2D shapes. If you must understand. Now, 3D shapes are not more complicated, but they can be explained through this method. However, they do not represent oneness, they represent a two-dimensional one. And that is all I'm going to leave you with to think about. Thank you for watching this enlightening presentation.